What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today we're jumping into some more Orcs Must Die Unchained. I'm going to be seeing if I can do sort of a mashup of a bunch of maps that I planned on completing earlier this week. I took a little break for health reasons and personal stuff, but should be coming back in now. I also got to set up a few things so that I might be able to start streaming in the near future. Not sure how regularly that's going to happen yet, but we'll see about it. Either way, we are going to jump into the temple graveyard, and we're going to do this with Yi-Lin today. So there's a number of different ways to go through the graveyard, and this is, I think, an old deck that I used to use a lot here, although there's a few things that I would prefer to do differently now that I'm going to try to get set up. So arrow walls will probably wind up being a big part of this. I'm not going to use grinders pretty much at all for this run, although with brass I may decide to change this up a bit. What we're going to do with Yi-Lin is basically funnel everybody towards the top, and because we have our nice Jade Sentinel speed boost, mostly we're going to be hunting enemies near the gates that they spawn from. But for brass, we're going to have to do something different. This loadout should ultimately work pretty well, so that's what we're going with. Let's see what we can do with it.
The Cloud Tiger Empire must prosper. I must win this battle.
All right, so for the most part, we should be pretty good here. To ensure that everybody sort of goes down the path that they need to. Actually, because I want them to be relatively restricted up here. So do something like that.
The fundamentals of trap placement are surprisingly easy to grasp.
Now there's a few other things that we'll need to block, like here.
The fundamentals of trap placement are surprisingly easy to grasp.
And here.
This spot is the most harmonious.
But for the most part, having the enemies flip towards us with the floor scorchers should actually be pretty good.
With these traps, I protect the Empire.
Okay, and then we can put some arrow walls up.
Traps are a great technological.
And for the most part, this should actually be really simple for the first 3 waves or so.
They've broken through a gate.
I hope that Chandra is watching.
Probably should have done that a little bit further back just to make sure that the arrow wall could kind of participate there, but watch that.
This trap will kill many minions. When I was a girl, we didn't have traps. We just had weapons, and we were glad for them.
Every time I hear that phrase from Yi-Lin, this makes me think she's like some, I don't know, magical grandma doting over kids and telling them how great things used to be, or how not great things used to be. Alright, so now we can start thinking about moving around a bit. I'm not going to do it just yet, but we will want to after this next wave, because the top section is opening up.
Unstable rift is open.
And that's also one of the reasons that we have to consider moving around. Alright, so those guys should basically die on the traps that we have here. We're going to Jade Sentinel our way over to that unstable rift and hopefully catch it in time.
Come back here and face me. And our heroes
Okay.
destroyed the unstable rift.
So,
And there was much rejoicing.
preparations for this side are going to include
That
blocking this
placement is
off,
suitable.
dropping our stable hand, and then go ahead and starting up here.
The enemy army is attacking on another front!
Let's go ahead and do that.
This spot is the most harmonious.
And we're not going to expect them to get too far beyond this point right here. That's for a few reasons. First, I don't want them to. And second, our Guardian's back there. So anything that got past me, if it was only a small portion of enemies, then ultimately we should have just the Guardian taking care of them. Now, because of Yi-Lin's speed, this guy isn't really a problem for that reason specifically. However, if you were playing with anybody else, a lack of speed would definitely mean that you should let him do whatever he was going to do and then try to clean up the mess afterwards. But you know, Jade Sentinel, pretty freaking awesome.
The boss minion has entered the
I
battlefield.
consider every
Alright,
trap
now I need to
carefully.
run back down there very quickly,
Our
and we're
barricades are
gonna
under attack.
get over here so that we can have some words with 2 before, pull him off our barricade,
Enemy's boss minion.
and that pretty much makes this barricade immortal for the rest of the game, which is great.
I am transformed. Tremble, enemies of the Empire.
And if you can manage to kill 2 before nothing leaks, then this side should basically be super easy. Because of the barricade setup that we have on the other side there, nothing is really getting through. Alright, now let's go ahead and clean this up a bit more.
With these traps, I protect the Empire. I have a plan in mind.
Alright, so now we have another Chaos Kobold. This guy loves me to death. Whoop, too far back. There we go. He can't destroy those. Now there's one thing here that I should have done that I didn't yet, and that is to make sure that I have traps in the way of these guys coming through here. The only thing that I started doing was placing these arrow walls, but you really want some floor traps and to block off this area so that all of your enemies are sort of going in the same direction. But we still don't have time for that. We need to come up here, and we're going to start this sort of weird pseudo pathing for enemies here.
No trespassing.
Right.
They've broken through a gate.
After much meditation, this
Alright.
placement
I can't get it
is
perfect yet. Placement of the swinging mace on this map has always been really weird because you have to place traps based on usually where their center is, and that one won't seem to line up properly until you place that first swinging mace. At least not for me historically. So I always find that to be odd. You can't really position that well without the first one being in place, and then it sort of auto corrects where it should be. Right. Go ahead and clean up this one. Gate. Nice. Alright, then we're gonna head back here.
The rift will be protected.
Now there should be these guys coming through. If you use the Ring of Storms, it should actually be able to blow them up without you being here. You just set it and sort of run away. But sometimes you can run into issues. Alright. Where's the Eye Mage coming from? There he is. Okay. I don't have any BGH traps in this run, so have to be very careful. Got him.
Our barricades are under attack.
Good for me. It's odd that that hunter did not go straight into the rift. He actually turned and aggroed the guardian, which I was definitely not expecting. Okay. Alright, you guys can just run and die, or follow me. That works perfectly fine too. That increased reach on Imperial Reach actually makes it really nice. Okay, so dealing with this now, one of the things that I like to remember to do is sort of add some spikes.
Yes, that placement is suitable.
They've broken through a gate.
With these traps, I protect the Empire. Yes,
and then make sure that everybody is on fire.
My strength fails. I must be healed.
And that is pretty much the beauty of Yi-Lin right there. Like, I was pretty much dead, and then went from almost no health to almost full health in just a few moments.
Unstable rift is opening. Quick, destroy it.
Alright, gonna grab the Blessing of Power. And we're gonna, whoa. Yeah, there we go.
The unstable rift.
They will not.
Wasn't sure if the bleed was gonna take it out that time. Alright, that's everybody. So this should pretty much be smooth sailing, except for another wave that's going to come through here, which is a little tricky.
After much meditation, this placement fits my strategy.
Beware, intruder.
This trap will kill many minions. Traps are a great technological advancement.
No trespassing.
Alright, I think I can do that and
I
this,
consider every trap carefully.
and then everything else can go to
Is the most
spamming
harmonious.
those. Now, if you're not spamming regular arrow balls all across the map, you can actually get a lot more of the ballista up here. And the arrow balls themselves aren't really needed super heavy, but they do sort of spread the damage around and make the heavier enemies a bit easier to defeat. But the same can be said of all traps. This is sort of a relatively cheap trap build though.
Boss is on his way.
As you can see, I had a ton of coin and was able to get all of it out before pretty much wave 9 had been finished. Alright, so this guy, we just spam Imperial Reach on and he gets murdered really easy.
My skill increases, but I must keep training.
They will not reach the rift.
Man, Yi-Lin is fast. This is something I never completely get over. This is our last wave with explodey dudes. You're dead. The Dwarven Mage's buff is one of the most amazing buffs that you get to see on a mercenary at all. It offers HP regeneration to whatever minion it hits and something like 80% damage reduction, maybe more, but it's high. And that combination of damage reduction and HP regen is ridiculous, especially when you get into a situation where on something like Endless, it's combined with whatever abilities another mercenary may have. So you can get some really crazy stuff popping off with double mercenary situations. The usual like super crazy combination is the Pride Assassin and then the Dwarf Priest at the same time. That just looked weird. Pretty sure he died to fire. See these guys falling flat on their face, dead. And yeah, we still have to finish this gate.
The cooldown for that ability is still active.
Oh yeah, okay, let's fix that. Hurry up and get over here and die. And there we go. Get a little golden Yi-Lin dance there. So that's nowhere near an optimal run on that map, just because Yi-Lin really does like a lot there that you can see I almost performed just as well as the traps. The arrow walls really aren't too good there, and they would be better served being replaced by grinders, which a lot of people may know, but just because of the particular pathing for the enemies, if you're going to path them towards a lot of walls, grinders will wind up dealing a lot more consistent damage, and they'll be effective more so against the lighter enemies than the arrow walls will be, in my opinion. I've always had better success using grinders, and I don't really think, as you can see with the brimstones, they still deplete rather quickly, and the recharge increase doesn't really help quite that much compared to something like just using other traps that would deal damage instantly and can refire on multiple enemies at once. But let's go ahead and open these, and then I'll go ahead and end the video. But either way, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Feel free to leave a comment if there's something you wanted to talk about in the section beneath the video. And as always, until next time, have a good one, folks.